Okay, I'm pleased to say that I can speak now to Justin Lynch. He's in Washington, D.C. He's the managing director at the Conflict Insight Group and co-author of Sudan's Unfinished Democracy. Welcome, Justin. Whenever I've spoken to people who have focused on Sudan, they've always painted over the last couple of years the most apocalyptic, perhaps the worst situation going on in the world at the moment, scenario, and it's only getting worse now with this outbreak of cholera. And the problem is, any aid that was coming into the country was being intercepted, I was told, by the warring factions. So if aid can't get in and medicine can't get in, how do you deal with it with a problem like this?
Well, I think that what you're seeing is really, the world's biggest humanitarian crisis that is happening right now, which is really something given the many crises that are happening across the world. There has been a siege in El Fasher for more than a year. And I think what is most striking is that, this is not really a humanitarian crisis. What we're seeing is a political crisis that is causing a humanitarian crisis, that is causing starvation, that is causing all the suffering that you saw in the last clip there. And so just a couple miles south of El Fasher, there's a famine where people are starving. And all of this is caused by a blockade where the RSF has surrounded El Fasher and the city. And so really we're seeing the consequences of that. And so this is really a political crisis that's been going on for over a year in El Fasher and for over 2 years across Sudan.
I mean, the misery and the suffering that you've described, there's also all kinds of cases of rape against civilians and ethnic cleansing being carried out. It seems the two warring factions have been quite happy just to keep going at it with this conflict. But I wonder now, is this a problem where they might actually think, well, this becomes a problem for us, disease? Do you think they might actually now, for the first time, look for outside assistance?
Logic really hasn't been something that either side have considered since the war began. And I think that what you really have to do is start to look at the supporters and facilitators of both sides. So particularly here in Washington last week, there was supposed to be a meeting that the United States was going to hold with Egypt, Qatar, the UAE and Saudi Arabia that was supposed to try and, I think, begin to make a plan amongst these major regional powers, particularly with the UAE, who is the major backer of the Rapid Support Forces. This meeting did not happen. The U.S. called it off at the last minute because the Emiratis put a poison pill in the final statement. And so what we're seeing is that the facilitators of both sides of the conflict really don't want peace to happen, right? And this is from both sides, right? They're profiting off of this war and they have other interests. And so I think that for a solution to this war to occur, you have to have these facilitators want an end to this war to happen, and we're not seeing that either.
Do you feel that sometimes there are wars that a lot of the world just turns a blind eye to, and that the people who are suffering are just completely ignored here?
Absolutely. I was speaking with somebody in the Biden administration a couple of days ago, and they were saying, where was the Save Darfur movement, during our time, because that would have caused us to act. And you think, well, if this is what it took to act, this shouldn't be the kind of benchmark that requires action. This is really kind of a sad state of affairs. And I think that we are really in an era of deal making, right? I'm here in Washington, where it's all about deal making, and particularly in Africa, it's about kind of minerals. I think we're going to look back on this era in 10 years and realize how foolish we were, because because this era has been so short-sighted. We are cutting humanitarian aid, and we will realize how important that was to long-term stability. And we're going to see the consequences of that, and how that is going to have a global impact in the West, in Turkey, and across the world, right? These diseases will spread because of these short-sighted policies.
Yeah, just unimaginable suffering taking place in Sudan, and the situation only getting worse now with the outbreak of cholera. Thank you for your analysis. Justin Lynch, my guest, Managing Director at the Conflict Insight Group.